On today's episode, a movie that proves that dating in the 90s could be a bit of a bitch. We watch Dog Park, today on Nothing Movies. So the reason I ask is that we recently just did a miniseries on the Nothing Movies of James Bond actors.
Okay.
And since then, I have been listening on repeat to Bond themes. I just find that playlist on Spotify, and I've just been listening to that like crazy every day at work.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw it to the table. What are your preferred Bond themes? What do you think are like the best ones?
First one that comes to mind has got to be Spyfall, if we're going to be honest, for me, for Nikolai. But also, I recently played a James Bond video game, Everything or Nothing.
Like the secret James Bond movie that has Willem Dafoe and actual actors in it. Yeah.
Yeah, as well as
one of the better post GoldenEye Bond games, honestly.
Oh, exactly. I mean,
yeah.
GoldenEye is peak, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, they even got Pierce Brosnan back and as the lead Bond, and Maya does the song for that one, Everything or Nothing.
Right.
Because she's also in it. So she's the Bond girl who also does the song.
The only case where the Bond girl also does the Bond song.
I think so,
unless you count Madonna. Not really a Bond girl, but she is in it.
Okay.
She is in that one.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think, Jameson? What do you think are the top Bond themes?
Oh, I think we should get going on our episode here. We did our Bond series.
I know, but I wanted a little look back.
All right. Well, I mentioned before The Spy Who Loved Me. I kind of like that that theme. I don't know. The theme for Snake Eater is the closest non-Bond theme that's out there, but as long as we're talking about Bond songs and video games.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to bring up, because since we're on the topic of Bond video games, I was also looking through that recently. I shared this with Jameson recently. I actually want to see if I can pull this up. Did you ever play Agent Under Fire?
Oh, not really. Like a little bit. Maybe the demo, I think.
Yeah, so that was one that, for some reason, that one came out, but they didn't really have the likeness rights to Pierce Brosnan yet. So the Bond in that game is sort of like this bland British character approximation that they've come up with. It's all Bonds and none of the Bonds. And the result nowadays is, when you look at it, the character model looks exactly like Sterling Archer.
Oh, yeah.
To a T. So, yeah, I really want someone to...
But does he sound like Bob's Burgers?
No, this is the thing, is someone needs to go in and take clips from that video game and edit over it with Sterling Archer dialogue, because that's just begging to happen. And I took a look for it, and no one has that yet.
It's,
so...
open property.
Open property, call to action. Yes, absolutely. No one's going to get litigious about the Bond license at all, especially not now. Well, welcome back.
Yep.
However you wish to self-identify.
We're continuing our Bond series, apparently.
Just sometimes to move forward, Jameson, you have to look back. And today
when does that ever happen?
Right now.
Okay.
On Nothing Movies, where we ask the question, the fuck is this? It's the podcast where we go through an actor's filmography and choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've made, and decide whether or not they've got a certain something, or if they're just a lot of nothing. I'm Kaz Lescard.
Yeah, I'm Jameson Rafter.
And today we're looking at 1998's Dog Park. To help us do that, we have a wonderful returning guest, someone
the top dog himself.
we've been meaning to. I didn't realize until like an hour ago. This is your second episode. It's also your second dog episode.
Yeah, that's correct. I have a theme.
So I guess from now on, if we have to do a dog movie,
boy. Oh, it's me. I'm coming.
At the very least, we have to offer it to you.
Absolutely.
Yes. From Riverdale, from Superman and Lois. He beat Steve Carell half to death, and Deadpool shot him in the head for it. Nikolai Witschl is back.
Hey, hello.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, all those things are basically true.
That's what being an actor is.
Exactly. Basically true.
They all basically happen.
Yeah.
Nikolai, it had been so long since you have been on the podcast. While I was texting you when we were setting up details, you asked me, do I need to watch the movie first? And I was reminded, oh, that's right, we used to force the guest to watch the movie with us. Remember that?
I do, yeah.
Remember what a bad idea that was?
We had to dedicate 6 hours out of our day to record one episode.
I think when we watched the last movie with you, it was at Podstream, and it was on a TV that didn't have color.
That's correct.
For
the movie
some reason.
happened to be in black and white.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back, Nikolai. We are here today. When I asked you the question of what actor's career you want to discuss, you came back with Canada's own Mark McKinney, sketch comedy legend, Mark McKinney. But important fact, that was not your first choice. And I wanted to honor your first choice. We love having you on the show because you always keep us on our toes, Nikolai.
Oh, yeah.
Last time you were on, I said, look, we will talk about whatever movie you want to talk about, and you immediately came back with Beethoven 6, the sixth installment in the 8-film Beethoven franchise, where Beethoven goes Hollywood.
Yeah.
Keeping in tune with that, before you gave me Mark McKinney, you said the career that you most wanted to discuss was Ashley Birch.
That's correct. Yes, Ashley Birch, Mythic Quest, Horizon Zero Dawn, Borderlands. I know she's done a lot of voice work.
Yes. Also of the YouTube channel. Hey Ash, what you playing?
Her.
That,
yes.
Okay. See, she's familiar. But in terms of what we do on this podcast, couldn't really find anything. I was really hoping I could find a direct-to-DVD animated movie,
right?
Or something that she was in. She's in a couple of micro-budget indies that clearly were made for $200. But
As we all do. As we all
have been in. But I just couldn't find anything substantial. So, but I wanted to give her flowers. So, what is it about Ashley Birch that made you want to discuss her?
I really love her created sketch comedy stuff with Hey Ash, What You Playin'? But also I really enjoy her voice acting choices. And I was wondering if within the parameters of this podcast, just watching an all cutscenes video of Horizon Zero Dawn would count. If that's really artistically what you're going for
there are people out there that do in fact call that movies, where they edit together all of the, Heavy Rain the movie or whatever you want to call it.
We're no strangers to really stretching the limits to what counts as a feature film for us to discuss on this show.
Exactly. But it seems even then that Horizon Zero Dawn is it's too big. It's too big for the kind of
it's also
obscurity we're going for.
I also just want to... The two things we cover here are obscure movies. Horizon Zero Dawn is neither a movie nor is it obscure, so I kind of feel like it doesn't fit with it. But maybe we'll have a spin-off show where we talk games.
Completely fair. Right. I did start by bringing up the James Bond movie game as well, so
sure.
You know where my head's at.
It all ties back to video games. So yeah, Ashley Birch, I love her. Would have loved to have talked about her. We've talked about voiceover actors before.
Mark Hamill, sure.
Mark Hamill, of course, the long and illustrious voiceover career of Whoopi Goldberg, which we've devoted 3 episodes to.
Yeah. So I wanted to cover one animated movie, and you're like, how about we do a trilogy of Whoopi Goldberg voice work?
And now
whatever.
And now she's in the Hall of Fame.
That's right.
Alongside Shannon Tweed and Danny Trejo as the most talked about actors we've ever covered on this show.
Yeah.
Burn Hollywood, Burn sent her over the top, so she's now in the 5-timers. Anyway,
Mark McKinney.
Oh
yes.
We're on the subject.
I got very excited about this because we're going to talk about Mark McKinney, and I think it goes without saying, by talking about Mark McKinney, we can also grandfather in talking about Kids in the Hall in general.
Yes.
Christ.
Jameson's make it as broad as possible. Not just talk about the one of them. I absolutely adore Kids in the Hall. It's one of the benchmark comedy programs of my young adulthood life.
Yeah, they were so smart about their sketch comedy and making it dumb enough to be accessible at the same time. I think they discussed a lot of queer issues really early on.
Oh yeah.
So I really love Kids in the Hall, and it's been really interesting to see everyone's careers kind of after that sketch comedy piece. And Mark McKinney's is one of my faves.
Yeah. So for anyone listening outside of Canada, first of all, thank you. And second of all, just as a disclaimer, this is going to be a very Canadian episode, and we're not going to be pulling any punches. So, if you don't know about the people that we're talking about, this may be the episode where you got to do a little research, because we got our...
You're getting your CanCon.
Exactly. We got our Mountie hats on for this episode, because we're going hometown. But the thing about Kids in the Hall is they did have a lot of crossover success outside of Canada as well.
Absolutely.
That's largely helped by them being co-produced by Lorne Michaels and a partner that Mark McKinney in particular has worked with for years and clearly has a long-standing friendship with, down to the fact that in Brain Candy, he basically plays Lorne Michaels as like the evil businessman.
Yeah.
So yes, before Kids in the Hall formed, Mark McKinney had a sketch comedy group with other member Bruce McCullough. And then they met up with Dave Foley and Kevin McDonald, who had their own sketch comedy group. And then Scott Thompson was just a guy who came to see their show one night, and he ended up being the fifth member. But before Kids in the Hall was a thing, Bruce McCullough and Mark McKinney were writers for Saturday Night Live.
That's right.
And that is how Kids in the Hall got off the ground. From there, Lorne Michaels co-produced the show, and it had... as I said, like a pretty decent crossover success with the United States in the sense that there were these cool anti-establishment, outsider art Canadian comics that all of a sudden the rest of the world was kind of paying attention to.
Yep. Kind of came in at the right time of like the Gen X grunge rock era, 90s comedy, in sort of a vein of a more modern contemporary Monty Python, or like doing the stuff that Saturday Night Live was a little too broad appeal for. These were for the 90s kids, right? This wasn't your daddy's sketch comedy. Yeah.
No, truly.
No,
only 90s kids understood.
There was cross-dressing.
Yep.
There was...
The fucking chicken lady?
The chicken lady.
Like, no one's ever going to think of something like that and think broad appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that about Mark McKinney that I was reminded of when I was going through his career and everything, something that I've been wanting to pitch to you for a while, Jameson, is I'd love to do a miniseries on Saturday Night Live actors.
I was thinking about that. There's just way too many of them.
There's way too many of them. I was thinking of zeroing in on the first cast, and we could do Belushi, Aykroyd, and Chase. I feel like that's an easy way to get into that. I never would have assumed that the first Saturday Night Live cast member we ever would have discussed on this show would be Mark McKinney.
Yeah.
Because, of course, after Kids in the Hall, he joined the cast of Saturday Night Live from season 20 to season 22.
Yeah, and we've had guest option. Hey, let's cover Bill Murray. Let's cover Adam Sandler. We're like, we'll think about it.
We'll get to it.
We'll
but
it
turns out McKinney is the first one that we ended up getting to.
Technically, wasn't Will Ferrell the first Saturday Night Live alumni that showed up in one of our movies? Because he was in Drowning Moon.
Well, showed up is different than focused on.
Showed up, yes, exactly. But yeah, do you remember anything specific about Mark McKinney's tenure on Saturday Night Live? Because I can't really remember any like characters or sketches that he
did. He bring over any Kids in the Hall?
No, not really. My understanding is that he was kind of pushed to the side. He was kind of pushed to the side for those first couple of years, which is why it didn't work, even though he's such a funny guy.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I also know that the Kids in the Hall name came from the fact that as younger writers, they didn't have their own offices, so they had to work in the hall, like frantically writing out sketches, and that's how they like found each other,
right?
And created their comedy work.
And when you're sitting on the floor outside of a bunch of other comedy writers' offices, and you're furiously scribbling at loose leaf paper, that's exactly how you come up with Cabbage Head.
Exactly.
That's how that's born.
You're passing time by pretending to crush people's heads from.
Yes.
Cabbage Head's my favorite character. I love that.
I was going to ask, what are our favorite Kids in the Hall
Nothing's funnier than, hello, ladies, is this seat taken? Ooh, I guess it can't be. I brought it from home. Just like the absolute lech who won't take a clue whatsoever and then immediately gets defensive. Oh, it's because I have a cabbage for a head. I mean, and like, I love all of them. I love a good Kevin Dave sketch. Like those guys just have like a rhythm and like a music to their writing that I just absolutely love. But my favorite's always been Bruce. Short King represent. I have to say, yes. What about you, Jameson?
Well, none of them really stand out to me because, you know, even though like I liked Kids in the Hall, I wasn't quoting it verbatim. You know, my 90s comedy growing up was The Simpsons. That's the show that I kind of quoted endlessly with everybody. So I couldn't really pick out like a standalone thing that I had to like rewatch over and over, wear out the tape for in Kids in the Hall. But like, all the fucking classics, like the Head Crusher one and the stolen bike one, like
the stolen bike one, which
is referenced in this.
Jumping ahead a little, will come up in Dog Park. But that'll be a topic of conversation of all of the jokes that seem weirdly familiar in this movie. But just to finish up the McKinney run, so Kids in the Hall ends... go ahead.
Yeah, I would love to talk about some of my favorite Kids in the Hall.
Yes, please, by all means. Yes, please. My God, I just railroaded over you. My apologies.
Well, I mean, there is so much to talk about, but I really love, hey, can you sharpen an axe? That's one of my favorites.
Is that...
My gosh, I am seeing blank eyes here. Do you not know, hey, can you sharpen an axe?
Is that the one where... He comes to the door and says, I've been attacked by an axe murderer. Oops, I actually am an axe murderer? No, okay, I'm sorry. What season is that? I don't remember that off the top of my head.
I don't know the season, but it's Dave Foley,
okay.
And he's in the street, and he's wearing a suit that is covered in blood, and he has an axe that is covered in blood.
And he's like super friendly.
And he goes up to someone, and he's like, hi, do you know how to sharpen an axe? And they're
I feel like this might be the same character as the sketch that I'm remembering.
Maybe. I don't know. But he's just so earnest and so just like real pleasant. And he's talking about, what's going on. And then a bloody hand comes in the house behind him and smacks the window and like drags down, leaving a streak of blood. And he's just like, anyway, so can you sharpen an axe?
Oh, good shit. No, that one stumped me. No.
It's spectacular. It's my favorite of the Kids in the Hall sketches.
At the end of after I was done watching Dog Park, I finally got the drive to check out, because I don't. My hobby isn't watching TV shows, Nikolai.
Okay.
My hobby is collecting a list of TV shows that I want to watch but never will start.
I understand. I have a couple of things I can add to that then.
Yeah. But last night, off of Dog Park, I finally checked out the 2022 Kids in the Hall revival on Amazon. So I watched the first couple of episodes of that. And it was just such a delight to see that they really
still got it.
They really hadn't lost a step, and and the rhythm and the familiarity of how they write their sketch comedy. It's always like usually if it's like a 2-person scene, it's always like the rhythm of like one person comes in, sets up the scenario, the other person is acting like aloof and starts asking a bunch of questions until eventually we get to the point where we realize, the second person knows way more than they're letting in on, and it eventually gets to like this big monologue. It always seems to be setups for like big dramatic monologues
for sure.
that they get to.
Yeah.
All right, so Kids in the Hall ends in 1995. 2 things happen. Mark McKinney starts his brief tenure on Saturday Night Live as an on-screen performer, and also Kids in the Hall kind of gets a little bow wrapped on it with the release of Brain Candy, to date their only feature film, which, I rewatched the trailer for last night, and like that's like a Paramount release. That was a major studio release, which really showcases how mainstream the Canadian comic boys had become. Like the trailer itself says, if you know Kids in the Hall, you know what to expect. If you don't know Kids in the Hall, we're very sorry.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies where I'm surprised it doesn't have a bigger cult following, especially since like it's so relevant to this day of, exploitive pharmaceutical companies and pills to make you happy and stuff like that.
It's only got more relevant.
Yeah. And I'm also surprised that they themselves hadn't put together more movies, considering that the blueprint was, like Monty Python, they had a couple of seasons of a sketch comedy show, and now they should make more movies where they, create new sketches and string a loose plot around them.
I think the difference there is that Monty Python and the Holy Grail was hugely successful, and Brain Candy was not.
Yes.
That largely led to...
and
around this time,
Dave Foley went and did that sitcom, right?
He did News Radio, which really is fantastic. I mean, I was going to ask, like, nowadays, who do you think the most famous member is? And I guess it's still Dave Foley?
I mean, he still gets work. I mean, I just last saw him in season 5 of Fargo, but I would argue that Mark McKinney might be the most, because he does like the most recurring roles on long-running sitcoms.
I think there's an argument.
Probably Superstore is the thing that kind of puts him over the edge.
113 episodes of Superstore, which was one of those wildly successful TV shows that I've never seen a single episode of.
Well, his character in Dog Park is very similar to the character he plays in Superstore, Glenn.
Oh, no. I mean, goody.
He changed professions. Yeah, he just
a little
stepped in,
bit,
yeah.
yes. There's some nuance, but it's like my partner from the other room was like, "Who's doing an impression of Glenn from Superstore?"
That would be Glenn. Not knocking Mark McKinney at all, but he definitely has like a bag of characters that he can reach into at any point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And every human being has certain rhythms and timbre and tone to their voice.
I love all 5 of the kids in the hall. They're not what you would call chameleons.
No.
You hire them to get the thing that they're good at doing.
Every time I see Kevin McDonald in something, I'm like, yep, there he is. There's
my guy. You hire him because you want Kevin McDonald energy.
Yeah.
And he has
that
a very,
Kevin McDonald voice.
He has a very specific thing. So after Kids in the Hall sort of like wrap up for the time being, Mark McKinney starts appearing in some random movies. His first movie after Brain Candy, a movie that we've been referencing weirdly a lot lately, Jameson, Spice World.
Oh, yeah.
He appears as, I think, a movie executive who's trying to pitch the idea of a Spice Girls movie while the Spice Girls movie is happening. So somewhat of a meta joke within there.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, 1988, he does Dog Park. He continues his collaboration with Saturday Night Live. He is in 3 of the Saturday Night Live spin-off movies, Night of the Roxbury Superstar and The Ladies' Man. He also shows up in the Steve Martin Goldie Hawn movie, The Out-of-Towners, co-starring with John Cleese, so sort of like a blending of Monty Python and Kids in the Hall. I believe the subplot in that is that he wants to sleep with Goldie Hawn, which... good for him.
Yeah, who doesn't, right?
Who doesn't? Absolutely, yeah. 2003, a huge year artistically for him. Two very significant things happen for Mark McKinney in that year. One, he gets maybe his only leading role in a movie ever. The excellent and out there crazy Guy Madden film, The Saddest Music in the World.
Yeah.
In which Isabella Rossellini plays a beer baroness with a glass leg that she fills with beer. And she starts a competition to find the saddest music in the world. It's if you've never seen a Guy Madden movie.
No, but I know enough about Isabella Rossellini to be like, yeah, this tracks.
Sure, yeah. If you've ever seen Green Porno, it's kind of roughly the same basic idea as that. Yeah, but yes,
you mean like amateur porn?
No, did you not see Isabella Rossellini?
That's a joke, buddy.
Oh, look at that! Bring in the jokes.
Yeah.
No, you've seen her weird bug. Sex things.
Her like bed bug awareness.
Yeah.
PSA. Yeah.
Where she's dressing up as worms or whatever. Yeah. But yeah,
Cookie lady.
yeah. She's out there. Yeah. She's a good fit for Guy Madden. Yeah. Saddest music in the world. Thoughts?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. It's very stylized.
Yes. As is all of his movies. Yeah.
Of course. The plotting is really interesting, and the like twists and turns in the relationships between these characters.
Yeah.
It feels, I mean, I do a lot of improv, and it felt very much like the plot of an improv show.
Sure. Yeah, you definitely see movies like that where you're like, oh, okay, this plot is hinging on an offer that someone gave.
Yeah.
Making it up as you go along.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And
a little bit.
And the offer is mostly going well.
Yes, exactly.
Also in 2003, a great show that I actually didn't realize until earlier, he co-created Slings and Arrows.
Yes.
I'm
so glad we're talking about Slings and Arrows.
An important text for anyone who's ever gone through an acting conservatorship program. I watched that while I was at theater school, and it blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Just like an incredible piece of Canadian television content that's very tied to the what's the theater Stratford Theater Festival. Yeah. What's your relationship with Slings and Arrows?
I watched it after university, but I really, really liked it. I love that every season has the arc of a different Shakespeare play.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, like in the age of like bringing things back, like I would adore to see another season of Slings and Arrows. Although, didn't it? I feel like it ended on a very definitive note.
It seems like something that it's a concept that you could reboot rather than restart with the same cast.
Also, not for nothing, one of the main characters is a ghost, and that is kind of hard to recast that when that actor is obviously aged
Yes.
now. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe we don't need to reboot everything. But no, it's like, and it's a short show, too. I think it's only like 18 episodes in totality. But they're great episodes.
3 seasons?
Yeah. It used to be on Netflix, and I don't know where to find it now. I think you need to get it on physical media. Yeah. Might be on Gem. You're right. I haven't checked Gem.
Oh, I hope so.
But yeah, and then, since then, he had a 10-episode arc on Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Yeah,
Again,
I love that one as well.
Tying it all back to Saturday Night Live. Everything seems to come back to sketch comedy for Mark McKinney.
Yeah.
In most of the things he does.
His character in this one is a comedy writer who finds nothing funny.
Right.
He's been too traumatized, and he knows comedy like it's math, but he doesn't find anything funny. Except, I think a couple of times something sneaks through,
and he
which
has
is
a
like
good
character growth.
And he has a great deadpan, Mark McKinney. So I'm sure that, I'm sure that probably works out. And then, twice now they've rebooted Kids in the Hall. Once for the miniseries Death Comes to Town, which was interesting. It was them attempting more of like a fixed narrative with some reoccurring characters.
Gotcha.
So yeah, you gave that one a skip?
I didn't know it existed. It missed my radar.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I guess that was just poorly marketed, even for Canadians. But yeah, I think that's like a 6-episode arc where they're attempting kind of like Brain Candy. They're attempting like a larger narrative with reoccurring characters, but they also have some of your old favorites pop up here.
I love that form of sketch comedy because it allows you to like focus on the sketches, but then try to find connective materials, kind of like how Mr. Show did.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Show, another thing that tried to make a comeback, and then people were all like, "This is good. You should make more of it," and then they just didn't, and then they just stopped.
They're both doing a lot of other stuff.
That's true.
I'm not worried about Bob Odenkirk's career.
Yeah, no, Bob Odenkirk weirdly just reinvented himself as one of our greatest actors.
Yeah.
So yeah, go figure. And then this Amazon Prime reboot, which on paper sounds like the most depressing thing, but the 2 episodes I watched last night, I had a great time with. So
absolutely,
I'm very excited to watch the rest of that. But that's Mr. Mark McKinney in a nutshell. Yeah, before we move on to Dog Park, is there anything else about the other members of Kids in the Hall you wanted to give a shout to? I mean, we'll talk about Bruce because he directed this movie, so he's a part of this. But Kevin and Scott, we haven't really talked about all that much. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on the other members?
Well, I do know that I got to work with Kevin McDonald.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. We had an open mouth kiss. It was fine.
Incredible.
I was playing his dad. It was totally cool.
Yeah, as you do. Yeah.
I'm burying the lead here a little bit. Wait a second. What? How much time do we have left in this opening? You dropping that bombshell on us now?
We're going long. This episode.
Oh,
yeah.
lovely.
We need to unpack that. That's incredible.
Oh yeah, he's just like still
You've literally
performing
been inside the mouth of one of the kids in the hall.
I have, yes. I will
We're talking
admit.
about Mark McKinney here.
Kevin still does comedy around Canada and like tours around, and one of the stops
I
was
feel
in
like
Vancouver.
I feel like I see that like every once in a while he'll just like pop in.
Mhm.
He'll just find like someone doing sketch comedy or improv, and they'll just be all like, "Hey, can I do it too?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was a good impression, by the way.
Thank you. It was kind of like half Seinfeld, but
Hey, he was on Seinfeld.
Yep. Yeah. And he's another one that pops up all over the place. I really loved him in Invader Zim as well.
Oh,
just
yeah.
with his voice.
Oh yeah, he's someone that's gravitated towards. I think it's interesting. Like all of them, with I guess the exception of Bruce McCullough, have like this big significant pop culture thing outside of Kids in the Hall, outside of Canada. Because Dave obviously has News Radio and also A Bug's Life. Kevin has Invader Zim and Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
Very significant stuff. Mark, we've talked about everything Mark does. And Scott delightfully has Hannibal.
Yeah.
One of the great. He's on most episodes of that.
He's the comedy relief in the Lecter
and
series.
He's great. Like when in season 3 where he's not there for a while, he gets like that one episode where like the intro is him coming back, and I'm all like, "Oh, it's so great to see him!" Yeah, I missed him in this, and and luckily he never ends up as a meal, so he makes it through. Spoiler alert. But I mean, and largely it's because Bruce has kind of gravitated towards behind the camera
Well,
a little bit more.
Exactly.
If we're gonna consider Kids in the Hall as like a parallel to Monty Python, Bruce McCullough became Terry Gilliam.
Yes,
That's exactly it.
That's exactly.
That's
it.
totally
Yes.
it.
And much like Monty Python, to wildly limited success.
Mhm.
Not nearly as successful as those gentlemen, but
Like-
hey, within Canada, hyper successful.
I checked
Totally.
I checked IMDb. He directed like 2 episodes of Trailer Park Boys. He
There
directed.
you go.
Yeah. Bunch of other stuff.
Well, look, we'll get into the directorial career of Bruce McCullough. Unless there's anything else you wanted to throw on here about Kids in the Hall. Nikolai.
Anyone else you made out with?
Yeah.
I'll never tell.
We're gonna get it out of you by the end of this episode. We're gonna
Nothing movies after dark.
all of the all of the celebrities that Nikolai has made out with. Yes, both on camera and off. Yeah. Well, let's take a little breather, and when we come back, we'll take a visit to the dog park, and we'll find out whether it's a good boy or if we have to put it down. That probably should have been part of my intro, but came off the top of the dome.
Doggone it.
All right. This movie was rough.
Ooh.
Okay. We might not be back. Okay, bye. We might get canceled mid-run. All right, bye everybody. We are back. Dog Park from 1998. Written and directed by Bruce McCullough.
Mhm.
Now, I was initially feeling a little guilty, Nikolai, because we toyed with the idea of doing another Mark McKinney movie before we found Jameson was able to locate a version of Dog Park that we could
On
watch.
the Internet Archive.
which I need to utilize way more often because I did some browsing and I think we can find most of the movies we want to talk about on there. So shout out to the Internet Archive in this age of
They're doing the Lord's work.
in this age of unpredictable streaming. Yes, piracy. Moving forward, we're pro pirate. This is a pro pirate podcast. It's a triple P. Stop me, Bruce McCullough. I was initially a little concerned that I took your choice for Kids in the Hall actor, and I somewhat replaced him with my personal choice of Kids in the Hall actor. But after watching Dog Park, they kind of have the same amount of screen time.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think they both shared it well, although Bruce obviously was behind the camera a lot as well.
Yeah, and I sort of...
So technically on set every day.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, he was on set more than Mark was, but yes, on camera he was... but, you know, you look at the poster for this movie... very sort of odd poster. He's given himself fourth billing, which is interesting, given that I feel like at this time, even with Kids in the Hall, known he wasn't necessarily like a name. So based on the fact that he's put his name on the poster, I thought he'd be in the movie a lot more than he was, but it actually is kind of a limited role for him. Also, I just want to talk about this poster here. So we got... Luke Wilson and a quartet of ladies from the movies, and of course they all have dogs. None of them are the dogs that they have in the movie, though.
Oh yeah,
Like,
there's
all-
a bulldog
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's not Peanut.
That's not Peanut at
No.
all. That's not Peanut or Mowgli.
No.
So it's like those dogs weren't available when they came time to Photoshop the poster together.
Huh.
But anyway,
Also on the far right there, isn't that like the lady from the dog park that doesn't have a name?
yep.
Okay.
Good arm. Which one's yours? Mowgli.
Oh, he's a happy boy. Yeah, he sure is. And you are?
I'm with Poppy.
Oh, and your name?
Janine Garofalo's in this movie, but we're
Not
not
on the
gonna put,
poster.
we're not going to put her on the poster.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to sell, even though she's at the time one of the more famous people in the movie.
So speaking of famous people, let's run down the fucking list of this cast, because normally when we spotlight an actor on these shows, like we want to have them a little more front and center. We've in the past we've kind of just had them in like small little bit roles.
Every once in a while that happens. Every
yeah.
once in a while we get a prompt from a guest. I'd like to talk about this person, and the movie we end up finding, has the most material for us to talk about, but they are in a supporting role, and
Yeah.
that's. But of all the, and we'll run through the cast, but like of all the reviews that I sort of glanced through for this movie, basically all of them have the one thing in common. Pretty much everyone says Mark McKinney's the best part of this movie, and I think I'm inclined to somewhat agree with them. I think what he's doing is the most successful. Out of what's going on here.
The most broad character, I'll say. Well, second most broad character.
All right, so run down the cast.
All right, so we got Luke Wilson, Jailene Garofalo, Natasha Henstridge, Kathleen Robertson, Harlan Williams, and Mark McKinney as like sort of our primaries, and Bruce McCullough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Bruce McCullough, he directed 4 movies. This is his debut film. It was held off from being released until his second film could get released, and so they sort of like jumped off of that to kind of get some traction with this on home video, because this was an absolute non-starter in the theaters.
It was rejected by movie theaters.
They said no. They said down. They said down, boy.
One look at this, and they're like, no thanks.
It has a surprising R rating for
it does.
Not much happening in there.
A few F-bombs, that's about it.
And a couple of butts. There's a couple of butts in here. But his follow-up to this is actually a film that I've already referenced, the SNL movie Superstar. Bruce McCullough directed that. That Mark McKinney is also in. And then his 2 follow-ups to that are the Tom Green, Jason Lee comedy classic Stealing Harvard, in which they try to rob a bunch of money so Jason Lee's niece can get into Harvard, I want to say. Everyone remembers that movie. Everyone has lovely things to say about that. Everyone has great things to say about Tom Green's film career. And then his final directorial film is a movie that, like, on paper is screaming out for us to cover it, Jameson. The film Comeback Season, in which Ray Liotta plays a former baseball pitcher who cheats on his wife and then spends the movie trying to make up for it and get back to her.
Okay.
But that's it. Those are the 4 films that Bruce McCullough has directed, and out of all of them, I feel like Superstar is the only one that people have seen.
Maybe good, and I haven't seen it.
All right, so Dog Park, how do we begin here?
Oh, Jesus Christ. How do we begin with this? This is one of those movies where I think I could charitably rant about it for 2 hours.
Good thing we have a podcast.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good thing we're recording.
A lot of things about this kind of movie frustrate me, just like the character decisions, their wants and motivations. This is just late 90s navel-gazing horseshit, as far as I'm concerned.
It's just like another classic, like late 90s rom-com of just all like dating.
Am I right?
Am I right?
Yeah.
You have to do all of these things. Oh, answering machine messages. Am I right? Like it is. It is Am I Right, the movie. What I will say is that, Bruce McCullough wrote this movie. He's the only credited writer for this. You can see
triple threat, this guy.
A triple threat. You can absolutely see his comedic influence shine through in it. I love Bruce to death. He's one of my comedy icons. His style of comedy writing, sort of like his absurdity and his childishness, is a poor fit for this type of movie, which is very much about like adults in adult situations trying to figure out adult life shit.
Yeah. And I don't know that the rest of the cast, for the most part, is able to match onto his rhythms. Because he has such specific rhythms inside of his sketch comedy and his characters that he plays.
It is very funny listening to Luke Wilson try to say very clearly Bruce McCullough dialogue. Like at the beginning when he's outside his ex-girlfriend's house and he says like, empty wine bottles, this isn't friendship wine, this is lover wine. And it's all like, that's very much a Bruce McCullough joke. It's very similar to listening to Owen Wilson say Woody Allen dialogue in Midnight in Paris, where it's all like, this is very clearly a different type of comedic performer coming through the mouth of like a more handsome, like naturally charismatic comedic actor.
It's just not a very good fit between performer and writer. And I just get the vibe, like I texted you as soon as I finished this movie that it was a profoundly awkward movie, because you're right. The dialogue is a little childish and stilted between these adult characters, but also the directing itself is very wooden. Case in point, there's a part where Luke Wilson goes and meets up with Jailene Garofalo and Bruce McCullough, her husband character, and they say like, "Hi, Andy." Cuts to a shot of Luke Wilson hitting his mark and kind of awkwardly smiling hello.
Hi there. Hey,
Hi, Andy.
Listen, man, I made you tape.
That's just dead air. And then
That was take one.
That was take one.
Yeah.
You know, like there are shots where he's having a conversation with Janeane Garofalo, and in the foreground there's just an old man dead center in the middle of the frame staring at the camera. They exit the scene, and the old man is left on camera lingering for way too long before it's cut. And I'm like, this isn't a Kids in the Hall sketch where you can get away with this kind of shit, Bruce.
I was expecting the old man to do something.
Yeah.
Maybe to give the scene a button or whatever. But no, Bruce just leaves it on him like he's Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
And like the scene's over, but so like maybe something interesting will happen if I just leave the camera on this character. But no such luck. Yeah.
You mentioned Woody Allen before, and I think
Unfortunately, I apologize for that.
it's okay. Honestly, Woody Allen came to mind for me as well, particularly with Bruce McCullough's character arc.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In that he is someone who cheats on his wife and then finds consequences for this.
But we have no indication that that's happening until the last 10 or so minutes of the movie.
Yes, that's not it's a B plot inside of everything. But that arc, for me, felt very similar to something that Woody Allen, as a writer-director, would have given himself.
Sure, yeah. If he's not cheating on well, I mean, like, it would be a Woody Allen character if the person Mark McKinney was cheating on was, like, 19. But, like...
Bruce McCullough.
Bruce McCullough, yes, yeah, exactly. But you know what I meant. Yeah.
Mark McKinney is an asexual character inside of this story.
He's an asexual character who somehow has sired 2 children. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. This, unfortunately, does happen on this podcast sometimes, where it's like we talk about people that I personally adore. Like I said, like I just love Bruce McCullough so much, and unfortunately, you know, like we are sort of like critiquing this piece of art that he's made, and it just has to be said. And now I'm going to be on the record saying about someone that there's a higher probability that I might meet him one day than most people that I do.
The artist. That's what I'm all about here.
It has to be said, he's maybe not the strongest dramatic actor.
Okay.
And largely, his character is kind of the straight man who has kind of a bit of a dramatic arc. Mm-hmm. And like when he talks, I'm sorry, I just hear Gavin. I just hear, because he just has like this very stilted way of delivering dialogue that works great when he's playing characters. But this is why you don't see Bruce McCullough in dramatic roles all that often, because he can't really pull it off. And he's given himself one of the more dramatic roles in this story.
Definitely, yes.
In a movie that he wrote and directed himself. So I wonder if he's working through some stuff.
I mean, clearly he had in the late 90s, Bruce had a lot of thoughts on dating, being single in the city,
and whether or not they made any kind of sense or not. So Luke Wilson's character is he's
Andy.
He recently got dumped by his girlfriend, who I'm going to say for like 10 or 12 years or so, because they mentioned that he hadn't been single since grade 8. This is like the only relationship that we kind of see him in.
I think the idea is that he's been jumping from relationship to relationship.
That's what I've seen.
Ever since grade 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
His arc is that he's never not been in a relationship.
Okay.
And in point of fact, like he meets Natasha Henstridge 4 days after they break up. And
he breaks up with his last girlfriend.
His last girlfriend, and that's sort of the arc of this character. It's like I've never really been single for a while.
Yeah, he's always attached himself to other people and has grown together with another person, even jumping like from one relationship to the other. Yeah, so he has no sense of self.
Yeah, and he tends to fall for unavailable women, so he's always in tumultuous relationships. He mentions that the woman that he just broke up with, they had a long enough relationship where they bought a dog together, and when she left, she took the dog with her while she goes and lives in with her new boyfriend. And so he's there, like
he's this great scumbum character who we find out near the end of the movie actually owns the house that she's moved into or whatever. I'm just all like, how did this character be able to like own? I thought it was an apartment building, but no, it's an entire house that apparently he owns.
What is that guy's deal? What does he do for a living?
He rides a bicycle and is a gross dude.
Yeah.
That's all he does.
Yeah.
We don't really follow into it, but we assume unsavory, uncool things.
But Jameson, he owns a house.
He owns a house.
So you can see why she dumped Luke Wilson.
Who also, I believe, owns a house.
Does he?
Doesn't he own that apartment he lives
Man,
at?
everyone owns fucking property in this movie.
In New York real estate,
That's the most unrealistic aspect of this movie, is everyone owns their own house, yes.
So he's pleading with his girlfriend, why did you break up with me? Throughout all this, there's like an old man neighbor who is eavesdropping and offers some life advice, like, love is not your friend, love is a beast. And I'm just like, all right, thanks, old man.
Thanks, old man. Are you going to come back later and be significant in any way? Nope. Okay, bye.
Yeah, thanks for dropping by.
He comes back later as a sight gag.
He comes back later,
but not
like,
in a significant
He
way.
just shakes his head like, oof, oh boy, these millennials, or I guess not. I guess the Gen Zers.
Yeah.
No, he's
Gen
a
Xers.
Luke Wilson's a millennial, right?
Like us? Like...
He's from like our era. I don't know how any of this works.
No.
Yeah.
So Luke Wilson works at a magazine.
I thought he worked at like a trendy magazine, but we find out later he writes personal classified ads.
Which, bullshit. You do not write the classified ads. People submit the classified ads to the publisher. Your job is to print them. But they keep saying that he's a writer. And what that tells me is Bruce McCulloch wants to do a movie where the main character is a writer. And that is my pet peeve whenever I see movies starring writers. That is just supposed to be a cipher for the screenwriter itself. But he had to justify it for like, oh, what's a trendy job that a writer would have? Working for a magazine, publishing classified ads. That's the extent of his
we get a lot of context clues, but we never get any idea about what type of magazine this actually is. It just looks like
you know what it is? It's a failing magazine company.
Sure.
Because like in every scene in that office, there's like maybe 2 other people that are working. There's the receptionist. There's like 1 or 2 people walking in the background.
Can we talk about one of the strangest things about this movie is that this movie apparently had no budget for extras.
Yeah.
Like in almost every scene, it's just like scarce.
Yeah.
Like they go to a nightclub.
Oh, yeah.
No one's in it.
There's like maybe 3 people in the background of the bar.
Yeah.
Like, that club would have just opened up.
Like
that was very strange. It felt like 7 o'clock energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Natasha Henstridge and Harlan Williams go on a date to a Chinese restaurant that looks like they went there at like 11 p.m. Like no one is in there. And all of these scenes with, I guess, like the exception of the dog graduation at the end. That's the only...
Where the whole town comes together.
That's the only day, I guess, that they had money to pay just like background people. Because in every other scene, there's like, it's just a ghost town. It's very strange.
How was the auction scene? The
the bachelor auction?
The bachelor auction.
There were women, but like, you feel like there could have been more. Like, you do feel like there could have been a bit more, but like,
Yeah. Maybe I'm a little too hard on Bruce McCulloch because, I can see why the dating pool scene would be pretty shallow in the city when there's only like 10 people in all of New York City.
Exactly. This is after this.
Is it New York? Is it New York?
Is it not?
I don't know if they mention the name specifically, but it would make sense because obviously Bruce McCulloch worked in New York during Kids in the Hall and Saturday Night Live.
It was filmed in Toronto.
That I picked up on, but I got I got New York City vibes from it.
That's because they filmed in Toronto.
They live in city.
Yeah,
yes.
Is where they live. They live in
any town, Canada, USA.
The city. That might be the state.
Great.
The thing is, it might be Canada, but there's all these American actors, so who knows? It might be the States. Who's to say? They live in town.
It's open to both markets.
Covered all their bases.
Good.
So Janeane Garofalo plays his best friend and his boss.
I assume
Yes.
so.
Or at the very least, like the editor of the magazine.
The managing editor.
Yes. Her name is Jerry, and she's she's not married to, but she is in a relationship with Jeff, played by Bruce McCulloch, and they're like the perfect couple that Andy looks up to.
Yeah.
I wonder if there might be some holes in their relationship that we might discover as audience members. Who's to say?
Wait, did we talk about that already?
I think we might have.
I think we might have talked about that already. We might have maybe talked about that
whatnot.
already.
If this is your first time listening to the podcast, we're going to spoil everything about this movie because that's what we do here.
Can I just say that for Janeane Garofalo, like the queen of 90s snark, she plays a very likable character.
Absolutely.
She's so sunny and nice, and she's got like a big wide smile on her, and every scene is just like, aw.
I'm sure that was the appeal for her.
They
for
really
playing,
soften the edges on Janeane Garofalo
for
in this
playing
movie.
outside of her range, outside of the thing that people like to cast her for. And I mean, this is very early for everyone involved. This is one of Luke Wilson's first movies. I mean, his first movie was Bottle Rocket, which was only 2 years previous to this. So it's not like it's like Hollywood. So I mean, I feel like the thing with Luke Wilson is that his career is always tied to his brother.
Yep.
And his brother just got a little more famous than he did. And his brother has always been a little more famous than him, even though Luke Wilson has, been the star of movies and is a famous Hollywood actor. But
Absolutely.
he's just unfortunately never been able to get out of the shadow of Owen. And
who, other than just being brothers, like very similar. I just think maybe Owen Wilson had more luck in show business. Because I think that I get both vibes from the Owen brothers, from the Wilson
from
brothers.
the Owen brothers.
From
Yeah,
the Wilson brothers.
Owen also had the thing that he was also writing the early Wes Anderson movies, so that helped him out, I think, considerably. If Luke Wilson has any animosity, he's never showcased it. It seems like he's perfectly fine with his station in Hollywood, and he's still getting some stuff. But
Absolutely.
Also talking about early careers here. Natasha Henstridge, who when I was a lad, the two movies that taught me everything I needed to know about human sexuality were Species and Starship Troopers, and then it took me an additional 10 years to unlearn everything I learned about sexuality from those movies.
Great.
She's afraid. Yeah.
But I was convinced in 1999 that Natasha Henstridge is the most beautiful woman in the world, and she's still incredible. But
her haircut in this movie didn't really work for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah.
that's definitely a take. I mean, there's like a scene earlier, we're jumping ahead, where she sits down in a makeup chair and her gay best friend immediately says, like, your skin looks awful, and it's just all like, she's like an alabaster princess. What are you talking about? No one has ever looked better than Natasha Henstridge looks in this movie, except her hair, apparently, according to Jameson. Anyway, so she plays Lorna, who is our leading lady of this movie, and much like Andy, she has also recently suffered a heartbreak, a breakup, which we will find out later. I mean, we might as well say right now. Andy's ex-girlfriend and Lorna's ex-boyfriend are currently dating.
That's right.
Which we find out a little later on, but they are not aware of this at the beginning.
Nope. They both find themselves at the same singles bar, just, nursing some drinks, having some dinner or what have you.
Having some onion soup.
Yep. It turns out that Lorna is somewhat famous. She is the star of a children's TV show.
Miss Bookworm,
which I'll get into in a second here.
Lots to say there.
But, Luke Wilson spots her in the bar and, do I recognize you from somewhere? She's immediately, standoffish. Like, she doesn't want to be hit on just yet.
Look, I don't want to judge a character, but Lorna can be a bit of a cold bitch sometimes.
Oh, just a bit.
She's maybe a little more standoffish than she needs to be.
And Luke Wilson's like an awkward, depressing fuck. So,
exactly.
Yes.
He's giving that energy. So actually, I don't really blame Lorna that much because, exactly. Like Andy's putting out like this energy of like zero confidence despite looking like a late 90s Luke Wilson.
Yeah.
Who should have way more confidence.
And she's not receptive at all. And these are our star-crossed lovers, of course, in this rom-com.
No. So Andy leaves the bar and discovers that someone has stolen his bicycle except for the front wheel, which are, if you are a Kids in the Hall fan, is a direct reference to the scene where someone just steals Bruce McCullough's front wheel.
Oh, yes.
So it's him repurposing a lot of joke. I just kept a checklist of things that I recognized from Bruce's repertoire of jokes, of references from other stuff. There's like a moment where they're in this bar and Andy says, "You're wearing the outfit of the depressed loner, sweatpants and a raincoat," and I recognize that from Bruce McCullough's comedy album "Shame-Based Man," from one of the songs he has. When you're sad and alone, you wear sweatpants and a raincoat. I'm like, all right, I'm just picking up all of this stuff. In point of fact, I watched the first 2 episodes of the Kids in the Hall reboot last night, and there's a sketch where Dave finds out that Kevin is cheating on him with his imaginary girlfriend, and Dave is all like, "What did you imagine doing with her?" And Kevin says, "Oh, I held her hair while she vomited." And I'm all like, "Well, that's from Dog Park."
Yeah.
So like he's still using like the same bits all these years later.
Going back to that well,
He's
every part of the buffalo. This guy.
Exactly. He's an economical joke teller. It's all like, "Is this joke old? Nah, there's some good yucks left on that joke. Dust it off, throw it in here again."
It was unappreciated back in the late 90s, but it was a good bit then, and it's still going to hold today.
If comedy is your currency, you absolutely got to use it like that.
Yeah, and so much of comedy is. I mean, there's entire stand-up comedians whose entire thing people come to see them tell the same jokes over and over again. So yeah.
So Luke Wilson goes back into the bar. They have a friendlier conversation. They hit it off, and then
She's laughing at the absurdity that he's coming with a bicycle wheel.
Exactly.
It kind of humanizes him a little bit.
She asks him to crack her neck, which is not a move that I think anyone has ever really done before.
And then
it works well in a fucking Kids in the Hall sketch, but it's super awkward to see
then when
in a rom-com.
And then when he sort of balks at the idea, she calls him a sissy.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, okay.
And then she says,
Slady.
my place or yours?
Well, there's this really interesting thing where he attempts to crack her neck, and then it looks like she has like a little emotional breakdown.
Yeah.
Like she just starts like breathing heavily, and it's like a very intimate moment where it's like, oh my God, no one's really like touched me like that in a while or something. And again, I didn't really know what to make of it.
Well, I think she overdid that part. She's wrestling with the emotions of, do I want to take this guy home? Do I want to jump into bed with, and do I want to hurry into another relationship? And she's like, screw it. And I thought, like, no, you're giving me too much for that.
What I thought was too much is something that drives me crazy in movies, just something that fundamentally does not happen in real life. We cut back to Natasha Henstridge and Luke Wilson at her apartment, right?
No, his apartment.
His apartment.
Yeah.
And they're making out, and mid-make-out is the moment where we realize Andy does not know Lorna's name yet.
That's right.
And it's just and this movie keeps circling back to that, where it's like, characters either don't introduce themselves, or characters who should know the names of someone don't know the names of someone. And it's just, that doesn't fucking happen.
No.
If you meet somebody at a bar, one of the first things that happens is you find out what their name is.
It's almost part of the joke that they're using these like Hollywood rom-com tropes to show that they don't work.
Right.
Although it's not quite, I think, nailed enough.
Yeah. I mean, I was wondering a couple of times throughout this movie, is there like some meta joke that I'm not picking up on, where like they are highlighting the absurdity, but I think they just didn't acknowledge the tropes.
Yeah, there wasn't enough acknowledgement of the trope. It
Yeah.
felt too much like it was trying to be like a plot point inside of the movie than it was looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a decent idea in like the brainstorming stage of this screenplay where Bruce is like, maybe I can make like a commentary on this, and then he never got further than just like the introduction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's it's more fully put together in a movie like They Came Together.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a funny movie.
Yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
God.
Yeah.
They really like point at the tropes and the rom-com
I mean, that's the
things.
entire purpose of that movie
Exactly.
is just dissecting all the romantic comedy tropes.
Yeah, so this one, it like was looking at the tropes, but it was too much inside of it to comment on it.
I think maybe he was actually going for legitimate commentary on singlehood and relationships with like his comedic sensibility. I think that he could do a balance of both, but he couldn't.
I mean, that would explain the weird monologue that Lorna's best friend has.
Oh god.
Oh
About,
boy,
like,
lots to say about that character. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The relationship wave.
I mean, we can
think she
jump to
called it.
that right now. The dating chain.
The dating chain.
The
that's what it
dating
was.
chain,
Yeah.
which is like this classic romantic comedy bullshit thing where it's like the bro code or something
Yeah.
like that. But it's
Yeah.
all like dating can be boiled down to like a couple of things, and it's always this, and you have to date somebody for a certain amount of time, and if you don't date them at this point in time, it's over.
It's over.
You'll
You
be
missed
single
your
forever. You missed your window.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is this lady talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
She is the
Rachel.
She's Lorna's personal assistant or whatever at the kid show. Her whole deal is about the dating chain, where essentially it breaks down to when a couple who are links in the chain, whenever there's a breakup, it tends to affect everyone else, and that's why everyone breaks up around the same time. And I'm like, when the fuck did this ever happen to anybody?
Yeah. It doesn't ring true to me because I don't notice that pattern within my own life.
Well, it doesn't ring true to you because it's bullshit and it
It's a
doesn't
made-
happen.
Okay, that might make sense.
It's a made-up thing.
It's never happened to anyone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, the premise is unbelievable, so the rest of the argument is
Yeah.
invalid.
Yeah.
And that's why I've got to commit to one thing, because Lorna isn't really sure if she wants to commit to Luke Wilson or not. So they're a little hesitant whenever they read classified ads and they see, oh, look at all the losers that are out there. Like, who wants to be in a relationship with any of these guys? But she's also saying, hey, just take a chance on this one nice guy.
They are, since we've referenced this, they do get to the point where they say, like, oh, look at this person, this guy has the most depressing name of all time, Owen, which I wonder if that's a dig at Luke Wilson's more famous brother, but I don't know.
I bet you it's a coincidence.
I think it's a coincidence.
Because, Owen is a very Canadian name.
Yeah.
Weirdly. So, yeah, that's probably just a coincidence. But
I'm sure there are more depressing names out there than Owen.
As referenced earlier, like the date in Luke Wilson's apartment ends when Natasha Henstridge starts throwing up. And
even though I don't think she's not drunk.
She's drunk-ish. I think she was drinking like double scotch.
Yeah, she had scotch.
I think that the implication is that she's drunk.
All right.
And Luke Wilson sweetly holds her hair back, even though, as Jameson mentioned, it's like a shortcut. So he doesn't really need to hold much back. But I actually thought this was kind of a sweet moment. It's kind of like a nice thing, because it's just the date ends with them not having sex, and he just holds her head, I guess, while she's vomiting, and then they just hold each other, and then the camera kind of just like fades out. I'm all like, well, that's kind of like a nice, sweet thing. Well, it kind of like shows him he's like a sensitive guy.
There's definitely a spark there between the two of them, but the problem is the movie manufacturers raised where they don't get together.
Well, yeah, because the very next day she goes to work, and Rachel gives her the dating chain talk.
Yeah.
And so when Luke Wilson, under Janine Garofalo's advice, sends her a bouquet of roses, she immediately is all like, "Oh, he's a creep," and she throws the roses out, except for one, but she keeps one.
Don't call me anymore. Yeah.
And and it's very odd, because it's like she's only doing that because societal pressure and a friend. Commentary has led her to believe, oh, Luke Wilson clearly isn't the guy for me, even though he seems like he's done nothing wrong. He's been nothing but like a lovely gent.
Yeah.
But all this boils down to is just like these two central characters just needed someone in their lives to say, it's all like, look, it's fine if you don't want to date anyone right now. You can also not date someone, and that's also fine.
You can just be friends. How about that? You seem to have a good chemistry with each other. You seem to get along just fine. So, yeah. Damn 90s rom-com bullshit.
Yeah, it ends up being kind of like the message by the end of it. I mean, they do end up getting together, but after like a little bit of a pause. But you're right. This would have been solved by a little bit of non-romantic comedy logic and common sense.
It's one of those classic comedies where it's like a single line of dialogue would have ended this movie immediately.
Right.
And there's a long history of those movies being made. And Lorna has like this cadre of friends. She has Rachel. She has her gay hairdresser, who I thought was going to be more of a character, and they really don't give this guy anything to do.
Yeah.
And then they have a character that I like to refer to as the bookmark.
The bookmark here.
Because there's on the set of Miss Storybook.
Miss Bookworm or whatever.
Miss Bookworm.
Yeah.
It's like a big set. She's reading to a bunch of kids, and there's a huge cardboard book behind her, and there's just an anthropomorphic bookmark character, I guess Mr. Bookmark or whatever, and the show always ends with him going inside the book and the book closing on him. And I thought the track of this character was that he was going to secretly be in love with Natasha Henstridge, but his only purpose is to show up near the end to say he's gotten engaged to his previously unmentioned girlfriend, and that just turns Rachel into the most unpleasant person.
The worst thing you could actually do is get hitched. Yeah,
absolutely. It's just like and we find out eventually why Rachel has her reasons for feeling this way or whatever. But anyway, Lorna has a group of friends that kind of comes to nothing, but she needed someone to talk to, I guess.
So this kid show. What do we think about this kid show?
What, like the Reading Rainbow equivalent?
Pretty much, yeah. All done on the cheap. Where they have they have the bookmark mascot where it says like "Feel the need to read" printed on it. And I noticed in the background of one of the shots, there's like a cardboard cutout of a worm with a child's head poking through, and I'm like, is this a character on the kid show that has no lines?
They don't reference it specifically, but I think there are just enough context clues to let you know that this is like every episode they get a new kid to be the bookworm.
Okay.
Because like this kid is it's like a child sitting behind like a wood cutout or whatever. He's just poking his head through like it's like a state fair or something like that. And then in another episode it's a different kid. It's a different child. So I think this is like every episode, Miss Bookworm...
There's a new sacrifice that must be made at the altar of Miss Bookworm.
They choose a child from the audience to be on the show, but they do it in a weird way where it's all like, okay, you're a worm.
Yeah.
You are the worm for this episode.
Though I guess that might be a nice featured part if the kids are a really big fan of the show.
Sure, you write in like an essay on why you think you'd be the best bookworm, and
we don't know what the purpose of the bookworm is. The bookworm doesn't get any screen time, so we don't know what role it fulfills within like this television program.
But yeah, I love the part where she's reading this nursery rhyme or whatever to these kids, and I didn't quite catch what the kids are saying, but it's like one of those children's show kid engagement kind of things where like you ask something to the kids and then they all reply back, and and it's a what?
And they all say something different.
The kids say like lion, ostrich, and she's like, you're right, it's a dog.
He's bigger than a hen, can't fly like a wren, and he must be a lion. A dog! Very good.
And like, is the joke there that all the kids are stupid? Because that'd be funny in itself, but they don't lean into that at all.
Also, this apparently is a show that plays late at night, because later after Andy is rejected, he's just like...
He's watching children's programs.
He's watching the woman who jilted him on TV, but it's like 10 p.m. or like something by the time he watches that.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have like VCRs, like, unless he necessarily recorded her show.
I mean,
earlier.
if he recorded her show and he's watching it at 10 p.m., like
maybe she's right to ditch this guy.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe she dodged a bullet.
Although 1998, that was probably around the time that like YTV got into 24-hour programming.
Yeah, but they'd play more adult programming in the evening, though. They'd play like Catwalk or stuff like that. Remember Catwalk?
But they would also play PJ Katie's Farm.
Would they?
Yes. Because they needed to fill like the time for 24-hour time.
Is it because we're on the West Coast and YTV's in Toronto? So there would be like a 5-hour or whatever difference?
I actually think I do remember. I actually think after midnight is.
So were you watching like YTV at 4 in the morning here? And
I actually do. You know what? It's funny,
programming?
Nikolai, until you pointed that out. I think I do actually have a sense memory of watching PJ Katie's Farm at like 1 in the morning.
Yes,
yeah,
because that's what they did.
Yeah.
They gave each of their
Sure.
PJ performers
Right.
$1,000 and half an hour worth of programming, and they were like, do whatever the hell you want. All we need is time. And PJ Katie's Farm was just the most successful of it, because she like bought into her own stuff so hard, with the different voices for the animals, and the storylines.
Again, if you're outside of Canada, YouTube PJ Katie's Farm, it's literally a grown woman playing with little plasticine figures and doing voices like, "Hi, Mr. Pig, how's it going?" And this show was wildly successful.
So successful.
#1 Canadian children's entertainer.
It's like a micro budget show. Like it's like they paid her to put it on. That's how low
She presented
budget.
them with that idea. Given the elevator. Actually, speaking of like things that happen late at night in this movie, there's a scene back at the dog park at night where Lorna's going around. She's just taking her dog for a walk. It's heavily implied that a lot of like loser single men kind of go to the dog park to pick up women. She encounters one of these guys. She politely turns him down. C'est la vie. In that same scene, it ends with Luke Wilson, Janine Garofalo, and Bruce McCullough walking their dog at night looking for dog poop. He doesn't recognize Lorna at the dog park.
Yeah, it's like a missed connections.
Exactly.
Scene.
Nothing is revealed in that scene. It's just 20 seconds of them hunting around for dog shit in the middle of the night. And like, there was no need to film that scene. There's not a laugh to be had.
There's a ton of scenes. This is a short movie, but there's a ton of scenes that add absolutely nothing and have no reason. There's a scene where Cheryl, Luke Wilson's ex-girlfriend, and Trevor, Natasha Henstridge's ex-boyfriend, are just talking about, should we have sex first or should we go to eat first?
Oh my God.
And it's just a 2-minute scene where they just debate which one they should do first.
What do you want to do? You want to have sex first, or do you want to eat first?
I don't care. What do you want to do? We could have sex first. Really?
Let's have sex.
Okay.
Yeah. But are you hungry?
No. I could eat.
We could have sex first.
Okay, why don't I get on top of you and then we'll go out for some noodles? Is that good?
Or we could go out for a real quick burger, and then we come back here and I can get on top of you.
Whatever. Okay.
You know what? We should have sex first.
And not only is it pointless, it anyone has ever been in a relationship in their life, of course you have sex first. You don't want to have sex on a full stomach.
No,
anyone will tell you that.
Now, you did say back to the dog park, but I don't think we've talked about the dog park
in the
plot
in the
of
movie
the
Dog Park.
Yes.
True. Yeah. I mean, the movie does start with them in the dog park, but yes, we
and
have
they go back to it 2 or 3 times, but there's maybe 8 minutes of the film
that is in the dog
park.
Right, yeah.
But you're right. The pitch of the movie is the dog park is the new hot place to meet singles.
That's right.
The reason we haven't talked about the dog park is that, except for the ending of the film, there isn't a significant scene that happens in the dog park.
There truly isn't. It was baffling to me.
And
based on the premise of the film and the premise of like the use of dog park, that it wasn't utilized.
You had access to a dog park, Bruce, and you fumbled it.
Maybe he didn't have as much access to the dog park. Because maybe he had the dog park for like 2 days.
He didn't get the right permits to film there.
Yeah,
it's a public space. So.
Nikolai's review for this movie could use more dog
park.
Honestly, could use more Beethoven.
Yeah, Beethoven should have shown up in this movie. He was too busy having his big break.
So Cheryl and her new boyfriend's relationship is getting a little rocky when he decides that, for tonight's entertainment, we're going to watch a porno tape. But Lorna taped over it with calling him out for being a scumbag and gave Cheryl all these warnings about, if he takes you to this restaurant, this is what it means. And here's how he breaks all these promises.
Yeah, it's the implication is that he has already taken her to this restaurant. He's doing all these things.
You're nothing special to this lady. I'm here to warn her.
These are just his moves.
Yeah. So now Cheryl's having second thoughts about breaking up with Luke Wilson. Yeah. And they say, look, we have a bigger responsibility to our dog that we have split custody over, whatever.
Mr. Mowgli.
Mr.
Mowgli is the name of this dog. What's the breed of this dog? It's like a Lassie dog, right?
Like a collie or something.
Like a collie, yeah. Watching the end credits for this movie, they have like a couple of like animal wranglers. I was very surprised to learn, how do you think the name Mowgli is spelled?
M-O-W?
Yeah, like the Jungle Book character. Yeah. Apparently Mowgli is supposed to be spelled M-O-G-L-E-Y. I'm just all like, that's not correct. That's not the correct spelling of that
you got
name.
that wrong, Bruce.
That's Mowgli. That's what that is. Maybe they just fucked up in the credits. I don't know. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, they now have split custody of the dog, and
it's not even a pun.
No, it isn't. No, it's very odd. And finally, at the 40-minute mark, we get to presumably the subject of the podcast that we're talking today.
Yeah.
Mark McKinney arrives
as
Dr. Cavan, who is a dog psychologist who very pointedly does not know how to talk to human beings, is only interested in them as far as they will relate to their dogs. He shows up in the first scene just by making noises, just by making dog noise, not even barks, just like or whatnot. But
eccentric animal therapist kind of character. Yeah. You can mine a lot of comedy with that premise.
And I'm not just saying this because he is the subject of our podcast today. I do think he's the most successful performance in this movie. He's definitely the funniest character in this movie because he's the only one that's truly allowed to be absurd.
Exactly. He's able to lean more into that sketch comedy energy that they're successful with, working with Bruce as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's very clear that he prefers the company of animals. He loves dogs more than people. He has this great line about, we treat dogs like they're our children, but no, like we don't impart bad values onto our dogs. Dogs are better than our children. And Luke Wilson looks over and sees pictures of his kids.
Yes.
So.
He very clearly has a very complicated relationship with his family. It's a very interesting character. Again, they introduced so much about this character.
Yeah. That's the only time in this whole movie where I went,
that's the one chuckle. The chuckle of film for
you did it, Bruce.
Right. You got one of them. Yeah. So Mark McKinney talks to them for a while. There's a very funny thing where he keeps saying Mowgli out, and the dog just immediately listens to him.
Yeah.
And Mark McKinney ultimately comes to the realization that's like, Mowgli should spend half of the time with Cheryl and half the time with Andy, and it's like, you needed a therapist to tell you
How
that?
much did this set them back?
They're
already paying him for like obedience school training.
Yeah, they must be spending so much money on this just for him to tell them the most obvious explanation. Yeah, the dog's having separation anxiety. And he's also implying that it's like, every time they have sex, Mowgli gets trauma
Yeah.
or whatever. But again, another thing that kind of comes to nothing.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, we should reference at this point that Jerry and Josh, Bruce McCullough and Janine Garofalo have set Andy up on a singles auction.
Right.
Yes.
Bachelor auction.
Where he is bought by Kiernan.
I thought it was Kira.
The IMDb,
Whatever.
IMDb is saying Kiernan.
Kiernan, gotcha.
So played by Kristen Lehman, who is this attractive, sex-loving, fun-loving blonde lady who it's so clear, obviously, that Andy is not into this relationship, but he's going along with it because sort of like the theme of this movie is, isn't it better to be with somebody than be alone? And then, of course, the realization he comes to is no, of course that isn't. But it's like, I was trying to figure out whether Luke Wilson doesn't like sex, or if Kiernan is just especially bad at sex, or if they're just not compatible.
I think it's a compatibility thing.
Yeah.
She's a little more sexually aggressive. The part when they're dancing in the near-empty nightclub, he's trying to ask her some questions, and, she says something like, oh, you're dancing like they dance in that music video. Oh, I've never seen the music video. Wow, that's a very natural way of having a discourse with someone.
Just a very awkward conversation that, again, goes nowhere.
He asks her, do you have any siblings? And she says, no. Oh, wait a second, I have a brother. Ha ha ha. And
I'd forgotten all about that. How important was that line of dialogue?
Yeah.
It made the trailer.
And the runner.
It did?
Yeah.
Oh, really? You highlight,
wow!
You highlight that for the trailer?
That's the trailer worthy, apparently.
Oh,
that's
God.
crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah. And the runner that they keep going back to.
Oh, she had a brother the entire time. You know what?
Silly
me. I just got it. I just got it. It's very funny.
And the runner they keep going back to is that her number one icebreaker is asking why women in pornography always wear their shoes. And, so we're just getting the idea that she's like a little more crass than I guess Luke Wilson's used to. But other than that, she's a fun-loving lady.
She
she's
honestly
attractive.
seems fine.
Yeah.
Like, the movie is setting her up to be...
He's just not into her, and that's totally fine.
The movie is setting her up to be, like, the wrong partner for him or whatever, and it's just like, it's totally fine. It's the same thing... speaking of a far more successful romantic comedy, it's like in You've Got Mail, where Tom Hanks is dating Parker Posey, and the movie is about like, oh, isn't Parker Posey like a horrible woman? Aren't you glad that Tom Hanks isn't with her by the end? I'm just all like, no, Parker Posey seems great. There's really nothing wrong with her. She just seems like she seems
sign me up,
She's career oriented. That's not like a bad thing. And also inexplicably, Natasha Henstridge starts dating Harlan Williams.
Well, they go on one date.
Well, they go on one date, but so he picks her up at a video store.
Yeah.
I got all the feelings when they were in there, and they were saying actual movie titles.
Yeah.
They weren't like making up fake movies or whatever. I'm like, God damn it!
Yeah.
I want to go there.
Now, Harlan Williams is playing like another very broad comedic character who's...
Hi, I'm Callum.
Yeah, I'm Callum. Yeah, incredibly awkward. I think this was written with Kevin McDonald in mind. I think he would have killed something like this.
I think Kevin McDonald would have been more charming in this movie.
Maybe.
Harlan Williams is giving...
Charmless.
He's giving big serial killer energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got the vibe that he was meant to be like one of the more breakout characters, similar in vein to Mark McKinney, but he's just so...
He's unpleasant.
He's very unpleasant.
The movie is setting him up to be like this, like quietly, like insightful guy. Because after their disastrous date, he leaves again more answering machine shenanigans. He leaves Henstridge a message saying like, I don't think it's going to work out for us, but like I just wanted to let you know that you seem really sad and like you should like trust in yourself. And it's just all like, man, know your fucking place, man. Like it's like it is not your position to tell. And like even like in their introductory scene at the video store, he kind of negs her a little bit, like, oh, your hair is all dry and everything like that. And of course, Jameson hooked onto that. It's all like, yeah, her hair sucks. It's just like he's way too personal and he's weird
and off-putting in itself. I love some of his lines though, where he's like, "You want to groove to my hacky stack vibes?" Yeah, he compliments the restaurant owner on the nice nice webpage that they have.
Except I feel like that's like a veiled insult. I wasn't quite sure on that. But he also shows up to their date with like
a big water
a
jug.
gallon of water.
Yeah.
And at first you think like, oh, he's brought his own water to the date. No, he goes to take a shower in the bathroom.
So he's got the wet slick back hair.
Again, these all sound funny when we're saying it out loud, but it kind of doesn't work.
In execution, it's so awkward.
Yeah.
It feels like they're bits in a different movie, because the movie's trying to like ground these characters and the emotional stuff that they're going with.
Yeah.
But with this like extremely wacky character who's so obviously like she has no connection with him and is not supposed to. There's no will they, won't they on this end. It's just like how long until this character leaves?
Yeah. And you don't even see like a parallel with Kiernan and Luke Wilson, where it's like, okay, there's just clear incompatibility issues in here. Fucking Harlan Williams is a loser.
Yeah.
And no one in their right mind would even entertain going on a date with this guy.
Again,
it's too obvious.
All that it exists for is, again, one of our unimportant scenes take place in the dog park where Luke Wilson is there with his girlfriend. Natasha Henstridge sees him. He doesn't see that he sees her, but then he sees her give a hug to Harlan Williams. And so both of them are all like, oh, they've moved on. They've moved on with someone else. And it's just the movie engineering ways to keep them apart.
Yeah.
Until the end. Yeah.
So Natasha Henstridge goes back to her place where she left the TV on, where someone just keeps repeating the lines.
What was up with this?
It's the Go Away Stain show.
Go away, Stain. Go away, Stain.
Go away, Stain.
Go away, Stain.
Again, I'm not sure what was going on here, but it's just a character saying "Go away, Stain," and then an audience going "Go away, Stain."
It seems like something you would see in Brain Candy.
Yeah.
It's that off the wall.
You know what? It was left over from Brain
I suppose
Candy.
it was.
It definitely was. Yeah. What happens then? Kiernan. So Andy comes home to Kiernan. Changing his answering machine message, which I'll
go to bat for him on that.
I stood up for Kiernan in an earlier scene, but that's some serial killer energy right there.
Yeah,
like,
that's a bridge too far, for sure.
Because she's changing his answering machine message to like his message is like, "Hi, this is Andy," and she's added her name into it as well too. And when he calls her on it, he's all like, "Why would you do that?" She kind of doesn't have an answer for him.
Yeah.
It's another scene that kind of goes nowhere.
Yeah.
But it's like, yes.
I'm sorry, you want to have sex to make up for it? And he like starts complaining, all we do is have sex, and I'm worried if we don't have sex, you're going to kill me. Beep. She recorded that too. So
Shenanigans.
Yeah.
Remember answering machines? Mm-hmm. Remember the 90s?
Nice answering machine joke there, Bruce.
Dating. Wamp wamp. That's the review. That's the general review of this movie. Okay. What? So Natasha Henstridge has a dog named Peanut, who's doing obedience training with Mark McKinney.
Yeah.
Peanut just likes to have a sit. Yeah. She's not much of a runner. She's more of just like a lounging dog.
Yeah.
But there's like another scene that inexplicably takes place at night. It's one of like those nighttime obedience training scenes.
Right, yeah.
It would seem, obedience school really does seem more like a weekend thing, but I guess maybe there was like a scheduling conflict, so they had to do it at like 8 p.m.
Yeah, at the adult annex or whatever.
Where it's like they're like trying to train their dogs, but also there's like a homeless man in the park just like trying to sleep.
It should have been a 6 o'clock shoot, but it ended up being a 9 o'clock shoot.
That's right. They had scheduled.
They ran long.
They had scheduled it for earlier or whatever, but there was like a wedding in the park that day, and Bruce had to like wait.
Yeah, I managed to get the permit for the gazebo, but they only had 10 p.m. available. So,
and everyone's dog comes to them when it's called, but Peanut won't come to Henstridge. So McKinney gives her like a doggy treat, and he says like, "This is basically crack cocaine for dogs." And she says like, "Come here, Peanut," and Peanut comes, and it's all like, well, surely this doggy treat's going to be important. Surely this is going to be like a vital. This is going to play into like the ending of this movie in like a very significant way.
What kind of fucking dog therapist is going to offer up what is essentially, in his own words, crack cocaine to a dog? That seems very negligent and harmful.
Also, I'm sure.
Yeah, you should get his license taken away.
Yeah,
but all this.
Apparently, he's the only guy in town.
All this ever comes to is in the final scene, Harlan Williams has now gotten a job for this doggy treat company. He's handing out free samples.
Yeah.
And it's like, I thought this was going to be like, at least like a plot thing where like, it turns out like Peanut can't graduate because they're on performance enhancing. I don't know, something. Why introduce this and not have it go anywhere?
I will say, like, you know, there are worse things that could happen with Peanut than it just being like a disobedient dog. Because Mr. Mowgli, we see this one scene where Luke Wilson and his Cheryl girlfriend are walking, and they look over, and he's chasing after a kid and jumping up onto the kid, and they don't seem concerned at all.
And it's because they have too much sex. And Mowgli is
acting up.
And sex is how you have babies, and this child was a baby, so now Mowgli is attacking children. It's A to B to C plotting.
Again, I think it could use more Beethoven.
If this were
a better dog movie.
If this were Beethoven, absolutely. He's going around, he's wrapping people up in their leashes and dragging them through fences, and someone goes to grab a turkey leg, but oh no, Beethoven's got it, and it's got that weird thing on the end, the weird paper thing on the end.
And he's pulling the tablecloth and
oh boy, and Charles Grodin's going, Marmaduke! Anyway.
Now Luke Wilson and Kieran are going on a double date with Janine Garofalo and Bruce McCullough. It's that old trope that happens every once in a while where she has a couple of her exes at the restaurant.
The waiter is their ex, and then they try to move to another table, and one of her exes
there's another one of
there.
my exes.
And again, this is playing from the Bruce McCullough playbook. I'm reminded of the scene where he's in a courtroom and the jury is entirely made out of his ex-girlfriends. I think Bruce McCullough loves to write jokes about how much he dates, and also what kind of a terrible boyfriend he is. I think he gets a lot of therapy done through his comedy.
I'm reminded of that one line from Brain Candy where he's like, I developed a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends. What are you getting at here?
How is this going to benefit things? It gives worms to ex-girlfriends.
This is a little more therapeutic for you, isn't it? But like running into a bunch of your exes at the restaurant, that is clearly like a half-written down joke in his joke book that he just never really finished, but it's like, okay, I'll write 2 gags for it in this one restaurant.
And again, it's another scene where we're trying to set up that Kiernan is obviously wrong for Luke Wilson, and like they have like an awkward moment where she points to an old man and says, that's another one of my exes, and then everyone's like quiet, and she's all like, I'm just joking, and it's like, ha ha ha, but it's all like, I would be charmed by that. It's clear she's clearly trying to make the best of an awkward situation.
She's able to laugh at herself. Like she seems perfectly nice.
Other than the answering machine message thing, which admittedly is something a psychopath would do, she seems fine. Other than this one thing. But this scene only exists so Kiernan can spy on Bruce McCullough making a call to work, and then when the two of them are alone, Luke Wilson and Kiernan are alone back at their apartment, it's like, how did you like my friends? She says, she's nice, he's having an affair. She says he's all like he was like stroking the phone cord and he was acting very flirty. At which point in time I say it's all like, have you seen Bruce McCullough? That's just kind of how he is. That's kind of how he talks to everyone. He has big bisexual energy. That guy. I don't know if he is, but like he emanates it, I would say. But but it turns out she's absolutely right.
Yep, very deceptive of her.
Absolutely.
And because this movie has a very small economy of characters, turns out the person that Bruce McCullough is having an affair with is Rachel, Natasha Henstridge's friend. Even though I'm not... what does Bruce McCullough do? What's his job?
Lawyer? Is he
I think he's a divorce lawyer, yes.
Okay.
How ironic.
So ironic.
He's a divorce lawyer, and she's like a children's television executive or whatever, so I have no idea how they met.
I know exactly how they met. So Janine Garofalo brings this up when Luke Wilson's talking about how they have like the perfect relationship. Tell me again how you met. And she said, we were involved in a fender bender together, and when we wrote down our information, the only thing he had to write with was a Valentine's Day card. So when Rachel goes to Lauren and says like, yes, I'm having an affair with this married man, we met when we got into a fender bender.
So
that's how he meets women. He intentionally gets in the car.
So whenever he wants to have an extramarital affair, he just backs into like a random car and hopes that there's an attractive woman.
You're like, oops, did I do that?
Just got a glove box.
I'm bad, little boy.
He's got a glove box full of Valentine's Day cards next to his insurance.
So Luke Wilson goes to confront his friend in another 90s romantic comedy trope, racquetball.
That's right.
I feel like if you are a man in the 90s and you're in a romantic comedy or just a comedy, you have to play racquetball at one point in time.
Absolutely.
That was a rule.
Yeah, that reminds me. We got to start signing up for racquetball lessons.
We're getting to
that age. Yeah.
We're getting to be the age where we play racquetball for a few hours and then fuck up our ankle and then never play it again, and then we have that injury for the rest of our lives. Seems great.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have like another. They have like this. This is the scene where Bruce McCullough is asked to do some like dramatic acting, and I'm sorry, buddy, it's just not working at all. Not that Luke Wilson's doing a great job in this scene either, but it leads to.
Well, I think it's the material, to be honest.
To be fair, the material that he wrote.
Yeah.
But it leads to them wrestling on the floor, and Bruce McCullough admits that he doesn't even have a good reason for cheating on his loving and supporting partner. He just wanted to get his dick wet.
Yeah.
Just like a classic. He's just a louse.
It doesn't even sound like Rachel's all that thrilled about the situation either.
No.
No, she's just like found herself in this situation, and she's now just like emotionally connected to someone who is in another relationship.
Yeah, and this leads to Rachel, like basically like shutting down Bookmark Guy when he says like, "Oh, this nice thing happened to me," and she's all like, "You're an idiot."
Yeah,
marriage is
only leads to more heartbreak. And I should know I'm breaking up a marriage. But it's fine because Bookmark Guy is barely a character, and evidenced by the fact that I'm calling him Bookmark Guy. And then Henstridge has like a moment where she gets out of Rachel what's going on, and Nikolai, we're getting to the dog park. Eventually, all of these characters eventually will meet at the dog park. After can't wait. He's bouncing in his seat, folks. And so. Luke Wilson and his ex-girlfriend eventually come to a moment where I think she leaves her scumbum boyfriend, tries to awkwardly move back in with him. So like I brought a bunch of things for Mowgli. Some includes like some of her panties. Yeah. So, because Mowgli wants to get like a smell on me. Yeah. It's like, again, these characters are psychotic. Well, she writes an apology card to him, but he says, "You've given me this apology card before. I remember the card stock and these words and everything." So I'm sure that's a real thing that happened to Bruce McCullough.
Sure.
Why not? Why the fuck not? He seems to have like a very crazy relationship history.
But they sort of like definitively say it's all like we pulse a T-Swift. They're never ever getting back together. But we still co-own this dog. So we'll go to the dog park graduation ceremony with our friends.
We'll stay together till the dog graduates and moves out. We'll stay together for the dog.
Yeah. I don't think it's ever been revealed until this moment that Natasha Henstridge's dog and Luke Wilson and his ex-girlfriend's dog are in the same dog obedience court. Well, no, it is because
they have that meetup, a random chance encounter in the lobby or what have you.
But I guess they're never at the same like group.
Yeah, she goes to the night ones.
You know what? You proved it.
There you go. That's how it
goes. He goes in the daytime, she goes in the evening. That's right.
Yeah, she's got the night shift, and Mark McKinney just works fucking 15 hours a day.
And that's why he's estranged from his family, because he's never at home, because he can't relate to people, he can only relate to dogs. We figured it out.
There we go.
Kieran and Luke Wilson break up. I think she wants to get a house together, and he says they're not ready, so they just break up.
Well, because they've only been dating for like a month or something,
and had sex like 50 times.
Yes, they break up because he comes home and she's put balloons and streamers everywhere and says it's the 50th time where we will have sex, and Luke Wilson's all like,
Jesus, lady, I'm exhausted.
Oh, man, I can't. You've just been pounding me like crazy.
I got a headache. Not tonight.
Yeah, exactly, and those characters break up. Kiernan is at the dog park. Why is Kiernan at the dog park?
rom-com conflict.
Wait,
shit.
Continuity?
No, Kiernan isn't at the dog park.
I didn't think
she?
so.
I
No,
don't
I
remember.
think she isn't.
No,
Rachel's at the dog park.
Rachel is at the
Rachel,
dog
Rachel
park.
shows-
Cheryl, they're Lorna, they're all the ladies are at the dog park there together. The whole town turns out for this fucking dog show graduation.
There's very little going in the world, as we said. Harley Williams is selling
Yeah.
dog treats.
Yeah.
That's the end of that character.
Yeah.
And Mark McKinney is up there with his family, and they're giving out graduations. Great reaction shot from the woman playing Mark McKinney's wife.
Yes.
In this, where I forget the exact line, but
Like,
he's
as I was telling my wife the other night, and she just has like the dagger stare on her.
there's like a look on her face that implies it's all like, you did not say that to me.
Yeah. Or you
Yeah.
said it in private, and
Yeah.
I don't need you airing this out to.
And then his two kids are there looking miserable as well too, and he's just in his element. He needs this to go well.
Yeah.
And he needs everyone to follow the rules, and but everyone's there, and Rachel notices Bruce McCullough with the camcorder, and she leans over to Lorna and says, "That's the guy that I've been having an affair with." And she only sees Luke Wilson, and it's all like, "That's the guy I've been dating." And she's all, "That's the guy who sent me the roses." And Rachel's all like, "What?" And I'm just sitting on the couch going, "Say names!
Yeah.
Say character names! You've been doing this all movie. Just say, that's the guy Andy. Oh no, I'm not dating Andy, I'm dating Jerry or whatever." But
And
just
then
say the character names, goddammit.
But they clear that misconception up in like 10 seconds.
It gets
So
cleared
why
up
even-
immediately.
Why even bring that up?
There was so much comedic potential in that moment for like some grand misunderstanding.
a
Like
French farce comedy of errors, perhaps.
a Shakespearean style I thought you were you.
Especially in a big public venue like that, too, on an important dog graduation ceremony, ripe for comedy and something a little more
at the same
conventional.
gazebo where they do Shakespeare in the Park. Yes.
Exactly. But you're right. It just like they rug pull and then they put the rug right back. So
Janine Garofalo goes up on stage to I guess
Accept the award for her dog.
for her dogs, and one of the dogs comes out and for some reason immediately runs over to Rachel.
Yeah.
And through this, Janine Garofalo is able to without words determine that her boyfriend has been cheating on her with this woman.
Yeah.
There's no comedic beats to this. They just like very sadly break up because he's a piece of shit.
He proposes they get married.
Yeah,
that's his save.
That's the great. If you're listening to this for dating advice, first of all, don't. But like, if you take anything away from this,
if your girlfriend catches you cheating on her, do not try to cover your ass by proposing marriage to her.
yeah, it's a great move.
that's a losing hand at poker.
That's right.
So they break up, and Natasha Henstridge and Luke Wilson finally, after like the entire movie, this is like a romance, but like the entire movie is them not being together.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like a Sleepless in Seattle type situation.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a second.
To a point.
Wait a second. You're single again? Yeah. And you're interested in me? Yeah.
And this is the movie's one interesting idea, is that, I mean, I guess the movie does end with them getting together, but what happens is, rather than them at the dog park realizing they love each other and they make out or whatever, Luke Wilson says, "I would like to ask you out after 100 days. I have never been single since 8th grade, apparently. That's my character's backstory. I need a few months to just be by myself, and I won't date anyone else, and I'll ask you out on December 15th.
Yeah.
And that's like the one interesting bit of like romantic comedy dialogue that Bruce McCullough has written for this movie. I actually think that's a very clever way of ending the movie.
Sure. And I'm just kind of surprised that Natasha Henstridge was like, oh, okay. Can I date people in the interim? I kind of haven't been in relationships in a while, and I'm kind of ready to go now.
I don't know if you've seen me, but I am Natasha Henstridge.
You ever see Species?
People are gonna want to ask me out, is
Yeah.
the thing, because I look like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But apparently, she says no, and she says yes.
Yeah.
I guess the implication is that Natasha Henstridge also is all like, you know what, that actually sounds healthy. Maybe I'll take some time for myself too.
Yeah,
You know,
they
I'll
don't specifically
I'll stay
say
single for another 100 days.
a more modern movie would have like talked about the emotional intelligence nuance of just like, oh, this is your situation, I will talk about my situation, and then we will come together by the end of it. There is a lot that's implied here, but you are right. I really like the like 100 days. This is what I need for myself.
It's healthy.
Yeah, very healthy.
It's a very healthy message to send audiences out on, where it's all like, take care of yourself first before you get back into the dating pool.
Pull that off at like the 11th hour in this movie, right?
It's advice that characters within the movie immediately ignore, because we see Cheryl gets back with her grungy bike riding boyfriend immediately or whatever, and it's all like, well, that's gonna end badly. Janine Garofalo's heart is broken, and that's where we leave that character. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and I thought for sure it would have been a case of the grungy ex-boyfriend and Kiernan, or whatever the hell her name is, they get together. They seem to be a little bit more compatible.
Yeah. They're a little more energetic, a little more animated. This boyfriend is wearing like a really weird, gross t-shirt in this scene. It says baby, and then there's an arrow pointing down.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what is the implication behind that?
That's a shirt for a pregnant woman, but when a guy wears something like that, it's just implying that he's got his tiny dick.
Yeah.
You know what?
There you go.
Jameson is the explainer. That's his role within this. Yes,
that's the math of that joke.
He makes the movie make sense. And then it cuts ahead to December 15th. They go back to the bar that they met at. Luke Wilson has brought her a single rose, and she pulls out a bouquet of roses. I thought she should have pulled out a bowl of onion soup. I thought that would have been a nice callback. But anyway,
she asked him to crack her neck one last time, and cut to credits. And did you cut and run, or did you sit through these credits? I didn't sit through the whole credits, but I did notice that they kept bringing back clips and snippets from earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
This is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. Why did they do this? Well, no, just the fact that they do this.
I mean, like, it'd be one thing if they were outtakes
yes.
for the movie. That's a classic.
Because the credits start rolling, and they're kind of like off to one side, and it's like, oh god, we're gonna have outtakes. And it's gonna be all like, oh, they flubbed this line. Isn't that funny? It's literally just 3-second clips of the movie.
If it were, this is how you run through your cast of characters, where it has like a little clip of them early in the movie, has their real name on it, and then they run down the cast that way. But they don't even do that.
It's devoid of context.
It's just small little clips of things that we already saw in the movie.
Yeah, hey, remember when this happened?
Hey, remember Harlan Williams?
Didn't we have a good time?
Yeah. Didn't we learn?
Hey, remember when this thing happened? Yeah. Wasn't that fun?
When Cheryl's turned around and said something. Yeah, I remember that part of the movie.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Yep.
So that was Dog Park. Did anything else happen in the movie that we didn't talk about? Anything that you desperately wanted to mention, Nikolai?
I think that's pretty much it. Only thing I remember was there were a couple of butts.
There definitely were a couple of butts. Yes.
Yep.
Of both persuasions. So this movie's got a lady butt and it's got a dude butt. So there you go. In the introductory scene where Luke Wilson brings Natasha Henstridge home, and they're making out on the couch. I thought it was interesting that the music that he chose was Crash Test Dummies. Mm-hmm. That's a very Canadian thing to do. Now, to be fair, he did put a lid on things, which is kind of their sexiest song. But it's
still the Crash Test.
It's still the Crash Test Dummies, and I have to imagine he's like put on like a mixed CD or something. So once that song wraps up and like cuts to like, I don't know, like the Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead or something, just like something that's like not sexy at all.
I noticed that one of the scenes of the magazine that Luke Wilson works at, there's a bunch of kids running around, and Janine
Garofalo, take your kid to work day.
Yeah, Janine Garofalo's mentioned that as take your kids to work day. I don't see any other fucking parents working there. No. I don't think there was a reason to involve kids in that scene. One of the kids is just wearing a bow tie. That's sort of a weird thing to see.
He dressed up for the day. He's going to work. That's what working people wear.
He's a kid.
Yeah. But yeah, the scene is awkward. Like, can you imagine in this movie?
An awkward scene in this movie. No.
It is weird. It is weird because it doesn't seem to be take your kids to work day and have your kids shadow you. It seems to be take your kids to work day and lump them on with Janine Garofalo.
Yeah.
It's like take your kids to work day and I'll watch them. Yeah. It's like, again,
babysitter boss.
Yeah. It's the start of a joke
that
they didn't really think through all the way. But anyway, there we go. That's Dog Park. Nikolai, Jameson. Did this movie have a certain something, or did you just find it to be a whole lot of nothing?
I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
It's got some good bits. Mark McKinney, who like inspired this whole thing, I think his characterization kind of like started to springboard into Glenn from Superstore, which is, I think, really valuable.
Yeah, we forgot to mention he has a great meltdown at the end where like the dogs aren't behaving or whatever, and he just throws the diplomas. And his final line of the movie is just screaming at his daughter, "You're not getting your navel pierced."
You're not piercing your navel.
He's flipping chairs and everything.
Yeah.
But that's just happening in the background as the camera pulls back to the fucking Toronto/New York skyline. Yeah.
No, I'm inclined to agree with you. This movie did not work, which is unfortunate because I like everyone involved, and I want nothing more than a movie written and directed by Bruce McCullough to be a hidden comedic gem. But this ain't it, Bruceo. No. I'm sorry, my man. I still love you. Big ups. Yeah. But Jameson, final word.
I thought this was a brutal comedy to get through. Not a laugh to be had. I didn't enjoy a single one of these characters. I think the points that it were trying to make were very muddled, and I don't know exactly where they're coming from and their decision making. Yeah, and just like even on like a technical level, I thought like basic filmmaking 101, like just know when to cut your movie, know when to trim certain scenes out of your movie. Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bruce.
Sorry, Bruceo. Well, it's fine. They're all doing good.
They're doing fine, yeah.
Who's to know?
I'm not knocking this like against himself. I'm still a fan.
It is so hard to make a movie.
It really is.
Yes.
It's so hard to make a movie.
As evidenced by the 6 years of movies that we've covered on this podcast for movies that like seemed like a good idea at the time, but maybe didn't work out necessarily, and that is the case here. I don't know if I don't. It was 2022, so I guess they're not doing any more Amazon Kids in the Hall. Maybe they will. Maybe it'll be like a thing where like every couple of years they have some ideas, or maybe they're just genuinely out of sketches. They're out of. That was all the funny that they had left in them. They had enough for 8 episodes, and they're all tapped out. I saw that recently. Mark McKinney has a reality show called Mark McKinney Needs a Hobby. So that's what he's currently doing right now. But I'm sure they will continue to be successful because they're all the best. Some of the best comedy that Canada has ever produced.
Yeah.
These 5
Agreed.
guys.
Yeah.
Nikolai, thanks so much for
coming back.
Thank you for this prompt. It led to a really fun discussion.
Thank you for having me.
You're always doing stuff. So like what do you got going on? What do you want the people to know that you're in and you've done or that maybe you have coming up?
You can find me on Instagram at the Nikolai Witschl Library of Facts. I always try to update my professional stuff there.
And include more facts for your library.
Yeah, more facts for the library. The autobiographical library and archive of Nikolai Witschl, otherwise known as an Instagram page. And then if you're in and around Vancouver, I perform with the Spontaneous Shakespeare Company, but we're also doing a Fringe tour this year.
Awesome.
Winnipeg, Saskatoon, and Edmonton, as well as back to Vancouver. That'll be happening throughout the summer. That's largely it for me these days.
Right
awesome.
on, man.
That's great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would be remiss because this episode came about because I caught you on the bus the other day. I would be remiss if I didn't throw out that you were thrilled to tell me that you recently got to play a major DC supervillain within the context of the it's not the Arrowverse anymore, right?
Yeah, it's still the Arrowverse.
It's still the Arrowverse, right?
Yeah,
okay,
all the largely Vancouver DC CW shows that got filmed. You mentioned at the start Superman and Lois. Yeah, I got to play Milton Fine, aka Brainiac.
There you go.
On the last 3 episodes of Superman and Lois.
Like one of the probably Superman's second best known villain.
Yeah,
I think
like,
maybe
Lex Luthor and
Zod and
then Brainiac. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So there you go. And there haven't been that many live action depictions of Brainiac yet. So you're in great company. You're within the canon.
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Yeah, there was James Marsden in Smallville, and then Blake Ritson in Krypton, and then just me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's sick, man.
That's awesome.
That's a nice feather to go.
Well, check all of those out. Thank you, Nikolai, for being on the show. That was Dog Park, directed by Bruce McCullough. If you like this episode, please check out our back catalog of episodes. If you go further back,
Also,
into the
sorry,
catalog-
Mark McKinney.
Also starring Mark McKinney.
He's the guy we were spotlighting.
He was the guy we were
here.
talking about. Yes,
Yeah.
two of the 40% of the kids in the hole. That math doesn't check out. But yes, Dog Park, directed by Bruce McCullough, starring Mark McKinney. We love it. Maybe we'll cover the other 3 kids in the hall one of these days.
Sure.
Who's to say? But yes, you can check us out. You're obviously listening to us on either YouTube or Spotify, because those are the 2 places that we do this. I think there's a third one. I think we're on Podbean or something. Are we on iTunes yet?
I'm
still working on it.
Okay.
Still don't know.
That's the one I get asked the most about.
Still don't know how that works. But if you're listening to us, thank you. If you like this episode, please check out our back catalog. If you go further back into if you want to listen to Nikolai's other episode on Beethoven's Big Break, you'll notice that the podcast is called The Fuck Is This? Don't worry about it. It's the same show. We just talk about movies. We are on Instagram. You can follow us on there. On Facebook, you can follow us on there. We'd like to thank Eddie Lamb for his fantastic theme music. You can follow me on Letterboxd. I'm Kaz Lesgard.
I'm Jameson Raptor. Thanks for listening, everybody. I didn't come up with a quote. I didn't know which one to pick.
Well, I don't like that very much, Jameson, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to crush your head! I'm crushing it! Crush, 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 crush. Good night, everyone.
Wish we planned that.